south side of Chicago, so I knew how crime can define a community, and I knew enough about American history to know, even to expect, that race would be the subtext of much of what I would write about. I began working as a bureau reporter in Lexington, a furniture town a half-hour south of Winston-Salem, with enough character to satisfy my romantic notions of the South. The sheriff, Paul R. Jaybird McCrary, ran the local Democratic Party machine. His detectives made fun of the New Yorker the paper had sent to town, but they were kind to me and let me read through their case files and follow them around crime scenes. And I learned about Southern justice from the district attorney, H. W. Butch Zimmerman, whose office was decorated with Confederate memorabilia. Defense attorneys would gather there on Friday afternoons while he read excerpts from his collection of slaveholder diaries, many about their sexual exploits with enslaved women, recited not as stories of rape, but for the entertainment of the men in the room. Zimmerman tried the murder cases himself, and lawyers from as far away as Raleigh and Charlotte would come to watch him and to learn from his legendary courtroom theatrics. He rarely lost. The subtext of racism was not as obvious in Winston-Salem as it was in small-town North Carolina, but it was far from hidden. The city council, then known as the Board of Aldermen, was divided by race, with 4 black and 4 white members. Often the members agreed, but when they did not, the division typically fell along racial lines. Black aldermen supported naming the local coliseum after a black Vietnam War hero. White aldermen did not. Black aldermen voted to establish a police review board. White aldermen opposed it. The mayor, a white woman and a Democrat, broke those ties, and when she sided with the black Democrats on the board, business leaders saw her as weak. Other reporters wrote about Hunt's case over those years in the neutral style we all accepted as objective journalism. The stories dutifully quoted his supporters, men like Larry Little, who in the 1970s had founded the local Black Panther Party, and Reverend Carlton Eversley, who had moved south from New York City in the hopes of becoming an activist, who claimed that Hunt was the innocent victim of a racist justice system. And the stories just as dutifully quoted police and prosecutors, who insisted that the evidence against Hunt was rock solid. From that balanced perspective, it seemed impossible that after 2 trials, 3 layers of appellate review, and the tireless efforts of attorneys, that a truly innocent man could be imprisoned. The series I wrote, Murder, Race, Justice, The State versus Darryl Hunt, was published in November 2003. Written as an 8-part narrative, the articles helped our readers, including the judge who had ordered DNA testing, see facts they thought they knew in a different way. A month later, threatened with a contempt order, the state completed its DNA testing of the evidence in the Sykes murder, ran the profile through its database of convicted felons, and found a match. Hunt was released from the Forsyth County Jail on Christmas Eve and exonerated 2 months later in February 2004. My work on Hunt's story was over. Then, in March 2016, Hunt disappeared, setting off a frantic search. After 9 days, he was found in the driver's seat of a pickup truck, parked beside a busy road, dead from what appeared to be a self-inflicted gunshot wound. I grieved his death, not with the intensity of those who loved him, but with the knowledge that I, among others who had been a part of bringing about justice for him, ultimately had failed him, believing the stories we told about him, all the while missing a more complex and troubling tale. I wasn't done with the story, after all. I started looking into his death soon after the funeral. Rather than tackle the big question of what it said about the failures of our justice system, I focused first on the facts, trying to track his movements in the days before his death. I talked with anyone I could find who had spent time with him in the weeks before he died, and I pored over posts to his Facebook page, followed them to pages of his friends and relatives, studying photographs from birthday parties and beach trips of people I had never met, searching for clues. Part of me simply wanted to solve the mystery of his death. What compelled him to pick that particular parking lot by a diner, a gaming parlor, and a Family Dollar? Why, after 30 years of struggle, had it come to this? What had I missed? Hunt left answers.